Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art, and today is Friday, March 30th, 2018. And we had a busy week around here, and we're going to get into that for just a minute. We'll also do, of course, we're going to do the regular eBay roundup and see how things did. It was a pretty good week, actually. And one of the things that we did last week was I had mentioned we had recorded the entire sale of the Jury Tang collection that sold at Sotheby's, and we managed to get it sort of put together and up online. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long. It's a fairly long video, but you can move through it, skip ahead if you want. And we have the highlights at the beginning of the video, so you can see what some of the major lots brought anyway. And then there was this. We did a video on an auction house that has sprung up down in Georgia. And you want to watch this one. They look like the kissing cousins of the old Eden Gallery that was down in Marietta, Georgia. Well, just up the street, a new auction house has opened with very similar looking photography, very similar looking ads on Live Auctioneers. And they're going under the name of Lauren Gallery. And you might want to check out that video. And we talk about an interesting vase that popped up in it that bears a striking resemblance to a very well-known fake that's in a video that was done by Al Jazeera on faking porcelain. So you might want to check it. All right, now on to this last week's auctions. This was up on eBay last week. Rat Gallery had this, and it's a very nice 18th century side handle chocolate pot. Beautifully done. It's got Mandarin figures on it, and these were clearly made for export. This one was in rather nice condition, and it did pretty well. It brought $1,054. Not a bad price for that at all. These are sort of rare. They don't turn up all that auction, and this looked like a nice one. And then there was this bronze Buddha. Unfortunately, the photographer shot when they shoot dark objects, it's always tough to shoot them against a light background because the details don't come out. But if you click through the pictures, you get a pretty good shot of it. There's the face. It's a late Ming example, from what I can see. The back of it had bits of lacquer and whatnot still on it. And here's the picture of the bottom. It looks just about the way it should look. There it is, nice and grungy under there. And it did pretty well. Bronzes have been doing well lately. This one brought $1,283. Not a bad price for that. If you followed the auctions in New York last week, they had several sales. Bonhams in particular had a number of bronzes. And the bronze market is just remarkably resilient right now. It's doing very well. And we had this up. This is a brush pot. It's a Chinese export Mandarin scene brush pot. And somebody had somewhere along the way, somebody had put a base under it and a lid that has a little bit of damage to it and so forth. But it's a nice old pot. Here's a picture of the top of it with the Greek key border. Nice example. And it also did pretty well. It brought $694, which is a pretty fair price for that. That's not an overpay at all. These big brush pots like this don't turn up all that often. You see small ones, but not larger ones. And then there was this piece, this slab-constructed blue and white vase. It's a late 19th, early 20th century vase. These are fairly well known. We've had pairs of them in the past. They always do well. They always do well in the Chinese market. And this was a nice one. It was around 17 or so inches tall. And it brought $1,273, which is just about right. That's just about exactly what they're worth. Arthur Potts had it. Arthur finds good things. He's over in Dorset, in the United Kingdom. And there was this very nice Chinese export carved tortoiseshell fan. Now, you're not supposed to sell tortoiseshell or ivory on eBay, but everyone knows that they pop up over there fairly often, especially in the EU. This was a good one. Very finely worked. Nice detail. Lots of good carving, good contrast between light and dark. Just a really good example. Here's the base of it. You can see quality work all the way through. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,342. It was probably made around, 1810 to 1820, somewhere in there. All right. And then there's this. This was a very nice, brightly colored 18th century Chinese export Mandarin scene cup and saucer, but beautifully colored. The colors on this were quite vibrant, and it looked to be in very good condition overall. And it did pretty well. It brought $360. Now, the seller had listed this as being circa 1850. It's not correct. This is an 18th century cup and saucer, pretty clearly. All right. Sometimes that happens, so you have to make your own decisions. All right, and we had this up. This was a really pretty, brightly colored, nice quality rank badge. I liked the soft apricot color. There was some very fine stitch work in it. As you can see, they call this blind stitching or the forbidden stitch. It wasn't forbidden and it didn't make you blind, but it's an indication of good quality. And this did quite well. It brought $898. Not bad at all. And that's a reasonable price for that kind of work. That's really fine needlework. Nice work. And then there was this little fish tank, this fish bowl. This was done sort of in the manner of Kangxi pieces with fish on them. Very reminiscent. It's not Kangxi, it's later. Here's a picture of the foot rim. This is a 19th century foot with a 4-character Kangxi mark. Generally, if you see a 4-character Kangxi mark, assume it's 19th century. All right, they typically didn't do them in the period. If they put marks on them at all, as you know, they didn't always mark things certainly. And it went for $448, which is a pretty fair price for that. It's a nice piece of porcelain, and Grand Pip had that. And then there was this little weird sort of oddball late 19th century puzzle putt with the figure in the middle. A little puzzle, probably a wine glass or something. And let's see, what did it bring? It brought $942. I thought that was a pretty good price for that. I don't know. I'm not going to say it was heavy, but that seems like quite a bit, and for a later 19th century piece. But I guess a lot of people liked it. Held 23 bids, and then there was this really attractive lobed Chinese lacquer tray. This was a nice tray. It was beautiful quality. I'll bring up some of the details of it. There it is. There were nice features on the faces. Always look to when you look at lacquer, if there are figures, always look to the faces to see if they're nicely detailed or are they just sort of roughly done. And you can see there's a scholar at a table with a paper and a stack of books and a vase in front of him and so forth. This was a nice tray. And it brought $895, which I think was a very reasonable price for that. That was a nice, fine piece of lacquer. RB Fine Art had that down in Florida. All right, and then there was this very nice, looks like a Yongchen period teapot, good quality all the way around. It looks like there might have been some work done or something. No, I guess not. In the photographs from one of the photos, it looked like the handle had been repaired, but I don't think so. All right, there it is. There's a line under there. Okay, it's a line, and maybe it wasn't a break, but there is a small line under the handle. And it brought $361, which isn't a huge price for a nice quality piece of famille rose like that. It's very good quality. And then we'll move over to this one. This was the Jade mirror, hand mirror, with they integrate the belt buckle and then a plaque onto the back of it. It's a really nice example, set in silver. And this did quite well. It brought $4,350. Our friend Kenny and his wife down at Eclectic Mix for You had this. They find some good things down there. They're down in the Carolinas and the Virginia area, and they find some nice things. And they also had this up, this nice big pair of 19th century crackleware vases. These were a handsome pair of vases. Nice quality, very typical sort of latter 19th century. Here's a picture of the foot rim on it. But beautiful quality all the way around, and they did well. They brought $7,258 for the pair, but very attractive, really attractive pair of vases. And there was this little Kangxi vase with a cup mouth on it, and the brown dressing around the rim, but very nice quality Kangxi. Nice, deep, dark cobalt blue, precious objects all over it. Nicely potted, somewhat of an unusual shape too. And here's a picture of the bottom of it, that nice smooth Kangxi foot, the way you want to see it. And there's been quite a bit of Kangxi on eBay lately. And here's an image of the fill pattern they used down the sides. Very nicely done. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,375. This was Orlando Shores. They got a collection that they were selling last week, and all of it did well. We have a number of the pieces up here that they sold because they're worth looking at now that they've sold, so everybody can get an idea on value. This was a really fine Peking enamel bowl they had. This was a good-sized bowl. It looks like a cup in the photographs. It's a little deceiving, so you need to check the measurements. This was actually, I think, 7 or 8 inches wide. Very pretty bowl. Nice, vibrant colors. Here's a shot of the other side. It has the typical little bit of crackling along the top here, right below the copper rim, which is not unusual for these. And here's a picture of the bottom, okay, with the mark on it. There it is, nice gilding and outlined in red. Just a good little bowl all the way around. And it did very well. It brought $2,175. There was a mate to this bowl in it being sold by the same seller, and he broke them up because the mate had some damage to the backside of it, about the size it looks like maybe of a square inch was knocked off, of the enameling was missing, and that brought around $600 or $700, as I recall. All right. And then Orlando Shores had this rather attractive Kangxi Vase. It had a couple of issues. The finial, as you can see, is missing off the top, and I think it had a repair or something on the lid at some point. There was something going on with the lid, and it had been drilled, had been made into a lamp at one point. But it's a good shot of the foot, of the base of these, so you can look at it and you can see what a nice Kangxi foot base looks like. And there's the rim, a little bit of chipping on it. And but good deep cobalt coloring, and it brought $3,049 with the hole in the bottom and the missing finial. So that's a pretty good price. And they had this up. They had two of these. They had two Wan Li frog form kendies. And as you know, these typically do very well. I suspect the metal may have been added. There might have been a loss up here, and they applied these metal tops to them. I'm not sure. But these can bring anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a piece. And this one did pretty well. It's a well-known type with this particular decoration on it. And it brought $7,966. Okay, so that's about right. The other one was a little less elaborate, and I think it brought $1,000 less. There were two of them. But you can go check it out if you want. All right. And that was about it for the week. There were other things that sold. There were a bunch of things that sold, and all of them did well. But those are sort of the highlights for the week. And now let's get over to what's coming up that's closing in the next few days. These carpets that I mentioned, if you're interested in Chinese textiles, there's a seller that out west that has two very nice Chinese rugs on there. They're apparently in full pile, so they look sort of new, but they're not. They're actually late 19th century rugs. And there's a very nice pair of cloisonné pieces here. And we're going to be putting in Qing period is back on this week with some things from the Netherlands. He's got 32 lots up. We'll be featuring those in this week's newsletter. There's that rug. Qing period has this up. Really nice. This is a big jar, 42 centimeter tall, transitional to maybe Kangxi period, but an early jar, nice early jar. And this tea dust glazed vase, we had it in the newsletter last week. This is a good 19th century piece of tea dust glaze. There's the foot to it, which you want to see that sort of fat, round, rolled foot, very typical of Tungchi or a little later porcelain. Nice piece. Here's a picture of the rim with that brown dressing going around it, and you can see how the glaze peeled and got a few little bumps in it. And it has two short hairlines in the mouth, but not critical. Those would actually soak out probably in a bath of hydrogen peroxide, but let the new owner do that. And this is in here. This is not a Kangxi vase, but it looks like one. It's very good quality blue and white. Very nice quality blue and white vase. And I don't think it's Kangxi. The seller thinks it is, but the foot doesn't look right to me. It's a nice looking foot. This is okay, but over here you see a lot of this peel, a lot of this rippling in the glaze in that foot. And I think it's probably either late 18th or maybe early 19th century pot. But beautifully done, beautiful color. And that's up to $125. It ends on Sunday, so I expect that'll jump probably quite a bit. Should bring $800 to $1,200 when it's all said and done. All right, and then we have these two nice pieces of cloisonné, these cloisonné boxes. Good quality. Here's a detail of it. They look to be 19th century, pretty clearly. Nice dark blue interiors on them. Here's a picture of the top. The gilding on the wires is still intact, pretty much, and they look to be in pretty good shape. And those are up to $340. They end this coming Monday. All right, so if you're a cloisonné buyer, you might look at these. You don't see pairs of these boxes very often, and they are Qing period, so if you like them, chase them a little bit. Okay, they're way under the money right now. They should be up around $800 to $1,200 a piece by the time this is over. All right, so give it a shot if you're a cloisonne collector. And remember, always leave a bid early. Leave a bid right away. That way eBay will notify you as it progresses and you won't miss out at the end. All right. Putting them on your watch list can often be a waste of time, as many of you experience. You put it on the watch list, you forget about it. Then in a few days you go back and it's gone and it sells for a price that you would have paid happily. All right. So you don't want that to happen. So always leave a bid. Okay. And that's it for the week. If you haven't subscribed to the Bidamount newsletter yet, please come over to Bidamount.com on the newsletter here and click it, and it'll bring you over to the page, and you can sign up right here. And if you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. They help us a lot with our rankings on YouTube. I'm learning more about that. Apparently it's important to get a thumbs up, so while you're watching, give it a click, and subscribe to us, and stop by the forum and put things up. We've had a lot of interesting conversations over there in the last couple of weeks. And thanks again for visiting, and have a great weekend. If you're going to auctions, be careful out there. All right. Thanks very much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.